Okay, today our viewer has asked, what are your thoughts on giving dairy, eggs, fish as first foods for little ones to avoid allergies later on?
Oh my, this is a challenging question, and I can understand why it's being asked. I read recently that some people are in favor of feeding little children a little bit of peanut butter to hopefully prevent them from developing peanut allergies as they're older. Interesting thought. I haven't followed the literature whether that's really a good idea, but the physiology behind this stems from the fact that when a baby is born, a newborn baby, the baby doesn't have any antibodies in the bloodstream against viruses and common bacteria, but nature comes to the rescue in the mother's breast milk. The mom puts lots of antibodies into the blood, into her breast milk. The question is, how do you get those antibodies from the breast milk across the baby's intestinal membranes without being digested, so it can get into the bloodstream and act as an antibody? Well, nature, she does a magical sleight of hand and makes the intestinal lining of a newborn, of an infant, up to about age 2, to be very permeable and allow these larger protein molecules like antibodies to actually pass through the intestinal membranes. And that's the way in nature it's supposed to work, where a child is breastfed until about age 2. And it doesn't happen too often in our society now, but in ancient times, especially in indigenous populations, the baby was carried on the back or in the front, basically constantly and nursing very frequently during the day until about age 2. Now you get big enough, you got to put the kid down. But by age 2, the intestinal membrane has matured to the point where it's approaching the adult ability to keep protein molecules out. So the question is, when you start feeding a newborn or an infant 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, when the intestinal membrane is still permeable, you start feeding them these very sophisticated proteins. Might they get into the bloodstream and actually set up an allergic state? And that's one reason why you don't want to feed generally things like wheat. Or some people would even say soy, but certainly wheat before age, I would say 1 year if you can avoid it, and probably 18 months to avoid the wheat gluten, et cetera, from getting into the deeper levels of the intestine. And so in my book, children should be breastfed for the first year, 18 months. And then the more benign fruits and starches introduced over the following 6 months. So by age 2, then you can really start introducing the legumes and various types of complex proteins, and hopefully without setting off allergic phenomena. So now back to the question, where does introducing eggs and dairy and meat, I guess, into the child's diet to prevent allergies? Well, if you're going to raise a child as a vegan, there's no reason to be doing that. So feed them plant-based foods through the first few years. Let that intestinal membrane solidify, if you will, stabilize. And then I think you'll find the child's intestinal tract is very tolerant, even if they eventually decide to add animal products to the diet. So I'm not in a big favor of feeding animal products early on, because you're doing more than just sensitizing the child or hopefully preventing sensitivity. What are you doing in their liver? What enzyme systems are you starting up by putting in eggs and milk? What are you doing to their microbiome? What are you doing to their immune system? It's not a matter of just, well, we'll put in some eggs to prevent allergies. You're setting off cascades of reactions there that may ironically wind up setting off egg allergies. I think a possibility is that these kids have been introduced to these kind of products too early. So to sum up there, I'm not a big fan of the question's premise to let's feed a little bit of eggs and dairy to prevent allergies. I think it might actually cause allergies. You want to raise that child as a vegan. You breastfeed them as long as possible, and then put in a very gentle cavalcade of starchy fruits and vegetables till age 2, and then off you go to the whole vast cuisine offered by plant-based foods. So I'm not a big fan of the early introduction of animal products. I'm open to feedback on that or some scientific data showing that it is a good idea. But if you're raising a child as a vegan, I don't see any reason to be doing that, and some good reasons probably not to. Hi, everyone. Dr. Michael Klaper here, announcing our new format for our Q&A with Dr. K. Annie Hagen will be asking me one question that's been sent in by our viewers. So if you want to see if your question is getting answered, do join us for our Q&A with Dr. K right here. Hope to see you then.